Good evening. This meeting will come to order. This is the Laverne Board of Zoning Appeals. The regular meeting begins at 5:30, this December 27th, 2016. I call the meeting to order, and we do have a quorum, so we can proceed. Have all the members read the minutes of the previous meeting?
Yes.
Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Make a motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Motion to approve the minutes. Minutes are approved. We have two items of new business tonight. The first item is a special exception for a cellular tower in A Agriculture Zoning District requested by APC Towers. Property located at 477 Hollandale Road. It's in the Agriculture Zoning District. Parcels owned by Edward Drennan.
Mr. Chairman, Kristen's not feeling well today, so apologize that you don't have a summary sheet in your package that you normally have. You do have the application though, and some drawings and some other information that you normally have. Like you stated, we got an application for a cell tower in the agriculture zoning district, and it would have to have a special exception to have approval to do that. So this is the area that we're talking about. It's 477 Hollandale Road. I think going by the drawing, it's kind of in this area here. About right in this area. And that's a closer view of it. We do have a representative here from I think representing T-Mobile if the board has any questions, which I'm sure you have quite a few probably.
Do we have any way of monitoring these towers so that the number of towers in a specific area is somewhat controlled, so we don't look like a city from outer space after a while?
Basically, about any zone that we do have that towers are allowed, it's by special exception. So any time a tower request comes in, it's going to have to come in front of this board. So that would be one way to regulate how many's there. A lot of times, I know everybody don't want to see as many towers as, every other lot have a tower on it. However, if the Planning Commission has been presented with the issue of, we don't really have good coverage area here, so you kind of got that trade-off. You're going to have some towers, but like you say, you don't want to have too many. And I think in this area, that's part of the reason why they are requesting another tower. It's basically the coverage. It's not, it's not to just have another tower. It's actually a coverage issue that they do have.
Okay, it was brought to my attention that the plan calls for 4 towers. Only one at this present time, but.
All I'm aware of is what's in front of us, which is this one. So okay. I don't know about 4.
Okay, is a representative here? Would you take the podium? Would you hold up your right hand, please? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Would you state your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Tish Spalding, and I'm representing Telecad Wireless on behalf of T-Mobile. Our office is located at 1014 Fulton Greer Road, Suite 4B, out of Franklin, Tennessee. We're requesting a special use permit for a 150-foot monopole in the area that he showed on the map. I know you were talking about, how you want to control the amount of cell towers in that area. We actually looked at co-locating on a tower that was located at at 301 Bill Stewart Boulevard in Laverne, and that was a tower located at Fire Station number 3. The elevation there is 606 feet, but the available height was only 50 foot. So that did not allow for T-Mobile to co-locate on that tower. That's the reason why we looked for raw land sites. And we specifically picked the Drennan candidate because they have an elevation of 555 feet. It's approximately about 400 foot off the main road, and it's in a wooded area. It looks like that we have a potential for 3 other carriers to come on to that monopole site. So besides T-Mobile, you could have other carriers like AT&T, Sprint,
On the same tower?
Metro PCS on the same tower. So that would actually cut down on the need for other people to come in that area and build another tower.
Good.
There's approximately a 1 mile radius northwest of 477 Hollandale Road that has very low signal strength. And because of that, T-Mobile is not able to provide reliable indoor voice and high-speed data to its customers. This new proposed 100-foot tower will provide indoor signal levels to an additional 225 people in that area. It'll also mitigate coverage concerns in the area and provide critical safety support for 911. There are several residential streets, churches, and a school located within this area. It will be designed and constructed and operated in accordance with FAA, which is your Federal Aviation Administration, and your FCC, which is your Federal Communications Commission.
Okay. Any board members have any questions?
I have one. So on the site plan, I guess back to Bob's question, what are the, where it says site layout plan, the future, the other 3 future, what are those for?
That could be for any other future carrier that would want to co-locate on the tower. Like if AT&T wanted to come into this area, they would just co-locate and put their antennas and their equipment within the same on the same tower itself. So we're given the T-Mobile would be at the top, and then whoever came in next, say it was AT&T, they would probably want the next available RAD center, which is at the 130 foot where you see the future carrier antenna. And then you have another 2 positions open at the 115 foot elevation and 100 foot elevation for 2 other carriers, say Sprint or Metro PCS, if they would want to co-locate in that area, you know, to have signal coverage for their customers.
So then I have a question for staff. Does that mean that the other carriers, would they have to come through the board again for approval, or are we actually approving?
They wouldn't have to come through the board. The monopole is the actual tower that you're looking at. These squares that are future, that's what she's saying, it'd be like ground level items to
Okay, thank you.
for the monopole.
Okay.
We are also providing, as you see on the site layout plan, the required screening of the evergreen trees that are planted 12 foot on center, and they're 6 foot tall. So even though it's in a wooded area, we're still going to provide that screening. And there will be a chain link fence around the compound. And that is locked at all times.
Is this going to interfere with the airport?
Yes.
It's going to interfere with them?
Yes, we file with the airport and the FCC, and it meets their regulations.
I said, it's not going to interfere with them?
No, I'm sorry. No, it will not. We've already checked with them, and the height, we're within their regulations.
The previous applications we've had with these, we did get a letter from the FAA identifying they had no objection to this. Have you received that letter?
I do not have that letter with me, but we can definitely get you that letter.
Number 2, I can't see it on here, but the FAA require you to have a red light above that beam because you are somewhat in the flight path there. Although you're below the line, it requires to have a bulb, a light at the top of the unit. I don't see it on yours. Have you identified that, or I can't see it? The print's so small I can't verify it.
I don't see on the tower elevation where it is labeled that there will be lighting provided.
But it's going to be a beacon.
Yes.
So when us pilots flying, we can see you.
Yes.
I mean, I don't see it on here, and I'd like to see it on there.
Okay. We can definitely get that added.
On the driveway from you're adding, is that a dustless surface?
I'm sorry?
The driveway that you're adding from the existing driveway they have to the applicant's or the leasee's home, You're adding a driveway from their driveway to this location.
Yes, sir.
Is that a dustless surface? Other
That-
words, is it a blacktop?
No, it's gonna be 6 inch of crusher run, aggregate limestone. So, it's pretty much gravel. It's not paved.
Previously, on all other applications, gentlemen, we've required a dustless surface. Although we're approving it today, things may change in this area, and that leads on to my other area. If the present landowner do sell, which they've done in the other areas, I would like to see additional bushes between existing trees to block the whole thing out.
Okay,
The other applicants that we've done recently have either chain link fence and put slats in so you can't see it, but I would like to be consistent
okay,
for that.
okay.
Just
We
something
can
we don't
definitely
approve.
get that added. So you want the additional slats?
So basically, if you did build a house at a later date after you were there,
Right.
that you couldn't see the facility. That's what we've done with other locations.
Okay, we can definitely put that in.
If you look on the screen, there is one mandatory requirement that's Kristen put together for agricultural district. It's a screening fence of wood or neutrally colored vinyl.
Okay.
So, I mean, on the plans here, it does have a spot where it's called out as a green vinyl coated fence, but it also is another spot, it does say chain link fence, so.
Yes, it will be a green vinyl coated fence, but if you want to add the slats to that, we can get that added.
Yes, please.
Okay.
We're just trying to be consistent. Everyone's coming with this. We're just trying to be consistent.
Oh,
There's
sure,
no
we totally
change.
understand, yes.
But the beacon is certainly a concern for me because it needs to be on. It should be on there. And your letter from the FAA is pretty much standard, but that they should have a letter that they don't object or words to that effect.
Okay,
Any other questions?
I think we just need to get it on the fence. I think I'm messing it up. It's the green vinyl coated, I think is a chain link coated
Right.
with green vinyl. Now, I think the intent of this is a screening vinyl fence that's neutrally colored.
Right. So the question is, you want a green fence with slats in it, or you want a neutrally coloured vinyl fence, put slats put in it? That's the decision. Bearing in mind at a later date, potentially, you could be putting homes around there at a later date, potentially. But I think we need to plan ahead for that.
Which is going to be the most effective?
I think we need to keep it consistent with our standards. That way, it's more consistent with the whole of the Laverne. So to answer your question, I think either a wooden or neutrally coloured vinyl fence versus the green fence. It's just a colour change.
okay, so you want to just go with neutral?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, the board's open for a motion to either accept or deny the petition. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to accept it.
There's a motion to accept. Do I hear a second?
I'd like to, a second, but I'd like to add to the motion if I could.
All
I just
right.
want to clarify what we just agreed to. One is that we have a beacon on
Beacon
top of
light.
the town. That the driveway is a dustless surface,
okay,
and that the screen and fences are neutrally coloured. Is that acceptable?
Yes.
Mr. Goodwin, did you make the motion?
Yeah.
Did he summarize what your motion was?
Right.
All right, then it would need a second.
Okay,
Then I'll second it.
all right. It's been moved and seconded with those qualifications, and we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 It's unanimous.
thank you.
Congratulations. Okay, we'll move along here to
Okay, gotcha.
item number 2, new business. A front building setback requested by Womble and Associates on behalf of Nir Shreibman. Property located on Nir Shreibman Blvd, the cottage of Laverne 2000, Phase 4. Density residential zoning district, and the parcel's owned by Nir Shreibman. Any comments?
Mr. Chairman, and this is the property that's located behind the KFC. It's along the creek here. Let's see if I can get an aerial. Here's the KFC. and here's the apartments already in this location. And I think as far as like the concept plan and being able to explain this and probably answer most of your questions, Danny Womble is here that can answer those questions.
Okay. What's the city's position on this?
Well, as far as the location of the stream, I mean, there's really nothing they can do about that, and there's a 60-foot stream buffer, so you're going to have to push a lot of these improvements that's been requested, you know, to get away from the stream buffer or get a stream buffer variance. So you'd have a variance from that side if you was to try to push this back any. The other is the floodway and the floodplain issue that he's listed in his letter that you know, you've got in your packets. Same deal. If you go further back toward the stream, then it's more of an issue. So what you're trying to stay away from, it pushes everything closer to the road. It's just a matter of, you know, is 5 foot too close, or should it be 10, or, you know, it's just kind of up to the board. And like I said, I think Danny can answer any of the questions and concerns you may have, and of course we'll be able to address any from the city standpoint.
Mr. Womble, will you take the stand, please? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Take your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Danny Womble, 40 Middleton Street, Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a surveyor and engineer, and I made this application for the property owner, Mr. Nir Shreibman.
Okay.
Do you have questions for me, or would you like me to explain the item first?
You can explain the item, but what I'm looking at is 5 feet between the front of the building and the street.
Right. As I describe what we've applied for, can I pass out some photographs that would be examples of some other properties?
These other properties in Laverne?
No, they're not. I don't think there's anything else in Laverne residential that has a reduced front setback.
Right.
Okay, so this is a tract of land located like Mr. Brown described. The request is for a variance to the front setback from 35 feet to 5 feet to allow for the development of this piece of property. The property is 11.44 acres. Of this 11.44 acres, there is 6.5 acres that's located within the Hurricane Creek stream buffer or floodplain or floodway. So the property is severely limited as to what portions of it is developable. The property is zoned R3, which is multifamily development, and what is proposed is a townhome development to be owner occupied. The 4.94 acres that remains that's developable is sandwiched between Nir Shreibman Blvd and the buffer of the creek. And this set of site circumstances are not the doing of the property owner. The creek, of course, is fixed in its location. Nir Shreibman was constructed several years ago, and that location was dictated by the city at that time. So that set of events is what left this piece of property with these constraints. Also, the city on the east side or the right side of the drawing has taken some additional property from this tract for the greenway, which further limits the development of the tract. The zoning of the property, the R3 zoning for the 11.44 acres would legally allow 166 townhome units just based on the zoning and the land area. What we're proposing is almost half that, 87 units. So as you can see, we're reducing the project quite a bit. We're not asking for maximum density. We're not asking for any use to be permitted that would not otherwise be allowed in the zone district through the request of this variance. When you look at the property, on the left side or the west side, the most severe dimension of the property is 75 feet wide. So when I'm designing a townhome type development, like the ones right across Nir Shreibman, we have parking, a drive, and then the building. That generally takes, if we just do parking on one side of the drive, that generally takes about 100 feet to do the drive, the parking, and the building. The buildings are usually about 40 feet. So if I've got 75 feet, it's obvious I can't do that. So what I'm requesting is the 5-foot variance that leaves 70 feet in this area. I can put a 40-foot building that leaves me 30 feet for drive. I still have no room left for parking. So what I'm proposing in the left side of the drawing where it's most restrictive is to mitigate that by putting a 2-car parking garage under the building with access from the rear. So that would create a streetscape that has no cars on the street side or in front of the unit. So the photographs I've handed out to you are intended, even though they're not here in Laverne, they're intended to demonstrate what the streetscape would look like. These are projects I've designed in the Nashville area. They're all projects with generally a 5-foot front setback. They all have the parking and garages behind the units, under the units. I don't know at this point what the architecture is going to be like if this project is approved and allowed to occur. So this is not representative of the architecture. It's just representative of the streetscape as to what you would see. Because most people, when you think about changing from a 35-foot setback to a 5-foot, the impression is that's too much. And if this board says it's too much, then we'll live with that. But I wanted to demonstrate to you that we've done it successfully in other places using 5-foot, and it's worked well. We've created housing that's desirable, that people buy it, they live in it. It actually has amenities with the garage that a lot of other properties don't have, because most of the others have surface parking. And the portion of the right side, we're actually showing surface parking on that side because we have a little bit more room. But this is the basis of our request. The request does not violate the intent of the ordinance or the regulations. The request, in my opinion, would not create any detrimental or cause any injury to the neighborhood or the public welfare if it's granted. And I believe that it would create an attractive looking streetscape. Also, I'd like to point out, as Mr. Brown did, doing it this way will honor the full required width of the buffer. It wouldn't be reduced any for the creek, and it would honor the floodplain without infringing on either one of those. So that's my request. I'm happy to answer any questions.
On the photos that you showed us here, it still has street parking on it, and in some cases it shows the parking on the street, and other parts it shows an indented parking in certain areas. You wouldn't be able to have that on that street, would you?
You're correct. That's right. We're not allowed to have street parking in Laverne. It's an ordinance that does not allow it. The parking that you're seeing on those photographs, you're correct, that was some on-street parking. We were not allowed to use the on-street parking to meet the required parking on the project. And the on-street parking was within the right-of-way, the public right-of-way of the street. So you're correct, that doesn't illustrate exactly what I'm proposing here because I'm not proposing street parking. Mm-hmm. But it does illustrate from the sidewalk to the front of the building exactly what I'm proposing.
So it would show, like in this picture, you have curb and gutter, and then a green area, then the sidewalk, and then some more frontage, shrubs and such, and then the front porch or the building.
I think the way that Nir Shreibman is presently constructed, that is correct. I believe that there's curb and gutter already, a small grass strip, and then a concrete walk. And the back of the concrete walk generally aligns with the right-of-way line. And then from that right-of-way line or the back of the walk to the front of the building would be 5 feet. And in that 5-foot area would be landscaping, and then it would be the walk going from the walk at the street up to the front door of the unit.
Where would guests park if they came to visit any of these occupants?
The guest parking would have to be distributed inside the development, off of the street. And that's why we've got surface parking on both sides. And kind of in the middle of the site where 73rd Avenue is, there's a drainage ditch that divides the property. So we've got surface parking on both sides of that will meet the required parking as well as guest parking. And we would, to further answer that question, we would be required by the Planning Commission, if the variance is granted and we're allowed to proceed, to meet all the site plan requirements at the planning stage, which would have to be submitted to the Planning Commission, approved by the Planning Commission, before it could be permitted.
And that's something to keep in mind on this whole drawing, is this is really just conceptual at this point, because when he gets planning commission comments, if this is approved, it's liable to change up some.
Well, my concern here is that if we approve this and he starts going forward with it, and that's a lot of responsibility and cost to him, that to go ahead and proceed with it, and then if something later on comes up, you see what I'm saying?
Not really, because
Well,
if you give him if you're giving him a variance and he goes down to the 5 foot, that's just a restriction at that point that he's got a requirement he's got to meet. Right now it's 35 foot, so if he was to want to design on this currently, he's got to have a 35 foot front setback.
Right.
And that's just a constraint he's got to design around.
And
what he's saying is it's not possible to do that with this type of development with the narrowness of this lot. So he's just saying, he's just asking for a variance down to the 5 foot. Now,
Right.
that's going to be his restriction then.
And if we approve it as it's submitted, it's going to be changed from 30 to 5.
It'll be 35 to 5, and that'll be his restriction then. So he knows what he would be designing,
Okay.
the standards he's going to have to design too at that point. It's just like any design. If he decides to design it with a 35 foot front, whatever he designs it's what it is, and that's the same thing with a 5 foot. It's
Are
the
there any
planning
other
commission will have
questions?
all kinds of comments.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I've got several there. Mr. Womble, just want to qualify. So you're saying you're going to put a sidewalk in front of the property?
Yes, the sidewalk will be in the right-of-way of the road, typical like you see in all roads, and it will go to the right-of-way line of the road. In fact, I think that sidewalk is present today.
So the sidewalk, I believe, is 5 feet?
Yes,
Okay. So then then the property line, I just want to qualify so they understand what they're moving towards. So you already got a 5 foot, from the road, you got a 5 foot sidewalk.
correct.
And then the dimension from the edge of the sidewalk to the front door, as it were, what would that dimension be with your proposal as submitted?
5 feet is
5
what
feet.
I'm asking for, yes.
Just planning ahead, where would you put the entranceway into this property?
Well, the entranceway is proposed on the far left side, would be a drive there, and then it goes through the development on the left side and comes back out right where the word Boulevard is located on Nir Shreibman Blvd. So that's a circle drive that goes from one side to the other on the left side of the drainage ditch. And then on the right side of the drainage ditch, again, we have a drive that does the same thing. It's by the Greenway and then right across from 73rd Avenue.
Just bear in mind, at 8 o'clock in the morning, the traffic does back up to 73rd.
Right.
You've got to, I know this outside your realm here of your application, but I mean, it backs up to 73rd, so having an exit way on the west side would be detrimental to that junction, I believe.
Okay.
But obviously that's for the planning commission to get through. On the opposite side of the street, we presently have, when I can recall, we have the curb. I believe we have 5 feet of grass with some trees in it, and then the sidewalk.
Correct.
The driveway, will it be one way around, or are you gonna have it 2 ways?
No, sir, it would have to accommodate two-way traffic.
Okay.
Well, from my standpoint, the way I see it, to be consistent, I think 5 feet is too little. I think it's just, for what we're trying to get at. Obviously, he's put the application in to us what to do, but I'm not comfortable with the 5 feet with what we're going to have put it here. That's my comment.
Is there any room behind the building, a small play area, if any of them have children?
We've got a fairly tight site, but if that's a requirement, we can make room by eliminating a unit or two to create a play area. If that winds up being a requirement, then we would have to design it to meet the requirement.
I'm just thinking aloud here, because
Yes, sir.
since it's so tight in front that there's really not much room for the children to be out front. It becomes a safety issue then. They're so close to the road.
Right, right. But even with a 35-foot setback on a major arterial street like this one, it's really not appropriate for kids to be playing in that front yard.
Yeah.
And if through the wisdom of this board, it's your opinion I'm overreaching for a 5-foot setback, I would reduce that to what you think is appropriate.
At this point, what I would suggest is, I don't know what the individual board members would think. I think I will open up the floor to a motion, and I would like to start with a motion, if you will, the board will, for the 5 feet to see where we are, if that's all right with the board. So I'll open up with, I'll make a motion to approve it with 5 feet, just to see where we are. Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, just to see where we are. All those that are in favor of that motion, would you signify by raising your hand? That motion fails. I will hear from the members of the board now a motion and indicate how many feet you think would be appropriate. Do I hear a motion?
What I'm looking at, from what I'm seeing from the other side of the street and what they can work with, I would be agreeable to 20 feet.
Okay. 20 feet, okay.
And I'll make that informed motion.
All right, we have a motion on the floor for the setback to be 20 feet. Do I hear a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Do we have a period of discussion now? We will have a period of discussion now. Just discussion among ourselves. You think we should go to 20 feet, or should we consider 10 feet? And if that doesn't pass, go to 20 feet?
I'm looking at the rest of the opposite side of the street and what we're going to deal with and being consistent down that street. If you come from the Kentucky Fried Chicken towards Lake Forest Estates and you look what you've got, 20 feet will be more consistent with what we've got down through there, one, and two, be more from the safety factor of being further back from the road from the front door, 20 feet will be more acceptable.
Okay. Any comments down here?
I agree with it. I agree with you.
Okay.
Just for clarification for the minutes, the 20-foot, you're wanting a 15-foot variance down to 20 feet would be what the setback is?
Correct.
Instead of 35, okay.
I just got confused then.
It's a 20-foot setback, correct?
The setback will be 20 once it's done. It's a 15-foot variance.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, we're back to the motion. We do have a motion on the floor for a 20 feet setback, and it's been seconded. We will now take a vote. All those in favor of a 20-foot setback indicate by raising your hand.
Before we do the vote, I mean, what I like to see is the plans coming back with the 20-foot setback. I mean, it's like, it's going to change the structure, this plan around. I think we need to see it with the 20-foot exception.
But what will happen is, most of the question we discussed with the applicant tonight is referring to on the planning side. Don't forget the planning commission to look at this for all the other issues that was brought up, i.e. the parking, i.e. the children's playground area, i.e. for the entranceways. I mean, for me, as Mr. Womble will know, I'm going to be on top of him on the entranceways because the way he's got in position, I totally disagree.
Okay.
And so what he's asked before was the 5. We said no on the 5. At least tell the applicant, here's 20. He may not even build it. He may say we're not going to do it, but at least tell him where he needs to go and then go and try and put the plans into a realm that's going to work for him. That's what
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. We now take the vote. All those in favor of a 20-foot setback indicate such by raising your hand. It's unanimous at 20 feet.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. There being no further business scheduled for us, this meeting is now adjourned.